Hello everyone, what is up and welcome back to the channel iDreamers. Today is of course yet another self-repair video that I've brought for all of you. Today's video is going to be the detailed step-by-step guide on how you can replace the screen on your Samsung Galaxy S8. This phone was released back in April of 2017. That would mean that this phone is around 7 years old, and this is a pretty old phone, but I'm sure that a lot of you are using this, might just be having some minor issues that might prevent you from using this phone. And for me, my goal is to make sure that those devices are not just gathering dust. Without further ado, let's get started. Let's get this repair done and we'll continue discussing more. For this repair, other than the phone, we will also need the toolkit like we always do. Isopropyl alcohol, definitely need that. This hot air gun right here and the B7000 adhesive glue that we use to stick back the phone. So we need that. We need a suction cup. It can either be a clamp like the one that I'm having now, or can also be a normal suction cup like the one that I'm having right here. It'll be slightly easier, but you really risk damaging. And you also need some guitar picks. These picks look like guitar picks. You can also use your guitar picks. These are the thin ones and these are the thick ones. I think I recognize them from my old repairs. So these are the things that we need for this repair. And now the first step is to heat up the back plate. That's what we're going to do now. That's a decent amount of heating that we have on this phone. We don't want to put too much of heat. Once the phone is heated up, let's open up our clamp, slide the phone in through, put it by the middle, prying it open, and here you can see that there's a small gap at the side, and once you see the gap, that is when you slide your pick through it. And what we do is we immediately remove the suction cup. I keep forgetting to mention in all my repairs, let's say your phone screen is working, you just want to make sure that the phone is switched off before you do the repair. Just do that. This pick slide in, we just got to cut through the back glass, which is not that big of a hassle. The left side, on the right side where there is the fingerprint scanner, that is where you need to be careful. So let's just slide the pick through here. I'm kind of stuck here, and here you can see that I'm kind of risking breaking the glass. So what I'm going to do is, at this point, I got to put more heat, apply more heat over here, right over here. We have to put more heat, and I'm just going to leave that pick over here, and I'm going to take a new pick and go through the back glass right now. Okay, just got to be really careful with the crack part here because I'm going to be reusing this back glass, so just got to be really careful with that. Okay, there we go, more heat really did the job. Okay, I also have got to make sure I don't go too deep inside it because the fingerprint scanner is right inside here. Just got to make sure I do that. It's kind of hard here. What I'm going to do, I'm going to hit the bottom part now. It's actually safer if you want to remove the back glass using multiple picks. You don't want the glass to be intact. I think you can just use one pick, just go through it. For me, I want to take it out in one piece as much as possible, and that is the reason why I'm using so many picks and so much of heat. Yeah, I think now we can slowly lift the back glass up, and this is where you want to be really careful because the fingerprint flex cable is right over here, so we don't want to rip it off. So you got to be really careful when opening it up. Just be really gentle with it, really gentle. Okay, now we can slowly remove the other picks, but the top part here is still adhered. We can't put the pick too deep into it too because we'll risk damaging the fingerprint sensor. Okay, there we go. The back glass has been removed. Here you can see the internals, and this is the back glass that we removed. Now with the back glass open, the only thing that we have to do is take a spudger and just slowly remove this connector. That's it. The moment you open the connector, the fingerprint scanner is out. We got to remove we got to remove all the screws on the upper section of this phone, which is this 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 screws. We got to remove all these 8 screws. So let's quickly remove that now. Now with all the screws removed, we can just lift it up. Let's just be slow and not break the plastic. Now the wireless charger has been removed. Now let's slowly just unplug the battery connector. Okay, battery connector unplugged. Once the battery has been disconnected, we can now move on to open this black color plastic over here. Slowly remove all the screws, but not to worry, like in all Samsung repairs, the screws are of the same size. The black color plastic door opened. What we got to do is just disconnect the screen. Now if that disconnected, let's just flip the phone around. That is when our hot air gun comes to work. Let's move the alcohol away because it's flammable. So now what we're going to do is just heat up the display. I guess that's a decent amount of heating. I don't really like to use this screen remover, but for now this is the only one that we can use. Okay, there we go. We managed to get access into the screen. What we're going to do is we're just going to heat up and we're just going to work our way through the display. It's really cracked very badly. This was much easier than I thought. I managed to separate the display from the frame without much of hassle, and that is definitely thanks to it being cracked. Okay, there we go. The Samsung Galaxy S8 screen has been removed successfully. Now with the old display removed, what you want to do is take your new display. Immediately just take your new display, and then just, as you can see here, there's a small connector here, and here you can see that there's a small opening at the frame. So just put it in through. Just put it in through, and once it's at the other side, lift it up. Be really careful not to damage the display connector, because if it's damaged, then you have no choice but to buy another new display. So once that's in, position it, align it, and just fix it back into place. Once I put the connector on, what you might want to do is plug the battery back in place, and once that's plugged in, turn the phone around and try to turn it on. And if it's working, you can definitely deem the repair successful. Since the new display is working, just remove the battery connector back out, and what you might want to do is use a spudger, and if you want, you can definitely use some alcohol spray. Just spray it a bit, slightly over the phone, and here you can see all this black residue over here. All this residue, just clean it up. And once you've cleaned it up, what you might want to do is take some adhesive. For me, I would definitely strongly recommend you not to use this adhesive, at least for the display, because if you're going to use this, then if it gets into the camera will spoil. If it gets into the microphone will spoil, or any of these components on top. So I would strongly recommend you to not use this. Just get a glue that's actually pre-cut just for the Samsung Galaxy S8 display. But if you're still going to use the liquid glue, then I would really recommend you to just put it at the top right over here, mostly at the aluminum frame, to try to make it sit in place. So once that's done, take your display, the connector through, and once it's at the other side, just press it in place. And once that's done, just make sure the display sits in place. Take some heavy book. I would always like to use book, so just take it, put it on top, and let the glue just glue the display back in place. Do not remove it and keep checking, but just let it just be in place.
A few moments later.
You can now remove the books that we put on top for weight, and once that's removed, just flip it to the back. Just check if it's fully glued. If it's fully sealed, just check for any gaps or any glue leakages. Check for that. If there's nothing, just flip it to the back, put it on top, and just screw it back on. Just make sure to hold the plastic when you screw it in, because you don't want it to dislodge into a different place. And also, since all of it are same screws, like I said before, you don't have to worry about it. The plastic cover for the screen is closed. Turn the phone on. Check if everything is working. If everything is working, then the last thing you want to do is to plug your phone in and charge. Once the battery is charging, take your wireless charger, put it back in place. You don't have to screw it in or anything. Take your wireless charger, slap it back at the back, and just make sure that the phone charges. And if it's working, you can deem your repair successful. Just remove the wireless charging pad. Now you can continue putting back all the screws that you took out. Once you put the wireless charging cord back in place, take your fingerprint scanner, put it back inside the socket, and once I'm done, I'm gonna press it back in place. I know that I have to glue this fingerprint scanner, but before I glue it back, I gotta test if the fingerprint scanner works. So I gotta turn it around, make sure it doesn't fall off, and then I'm just gonna test the fingerprint scanner to see if it works. So once you've tested that, flip it around, and you wanna slowly remove the fingerprint scanner. Make sure you do not damage the flex cable, because this is very fragile. Take the glue, and once you've opened it up, just put a fair bit amount, just a small slight one drop will do. But of course, please be reminded that do not use too much of glue, because if you use too much, it's going to overflow and it's going to be nasty, and you don't want glue getting inside the camera. Once that's done, put it back, press it in place, and let it set for a while. And once it's glued in place, all you got to do is just fix the back glass back in. If I want to take some hand sanitizer or some alcohol like I'm having right here, and then maybe take a spudger like this, okay, I think you can definitely see that there's a lot of residue on this device. What you have to do is you just have to spray some alcohol, and then you just slowly scrape it off, like the one that I'm doing right now. Glue residue is slowly coming off. Remove it entirely from this frame and make sure it's clean. Once you've cleaned it, just make sure everything is okay. And once you've done that, it's time for you to take a back glass. For me, I'm going to be using the same old back glass. I'm using a liquid glue, but for you, you might choose to use a glue that's made for this phone. It's much neater. And for those of you who are using the liquid glue, this is only for y'all. So y'all can just spread it over here, take the tip, spread it all over the aluminum frame. Just make sure it doesn't get into the speakers or any of the holes, because those will just damage the parts. Just make sure it's only on the aluminum frame. And if those on the aluminum frame is not enough, you can take your new back glass and you can apply it at the side, at the edge of the new back glass too. So once that's done, what you might want to do is, I just want to stick your back glass down. And I'm pretty sure all back glass come with the camera. Once you have all the glue placed, what you want to do is just gently place it from the top. I would love to do it from the top, but some might prefer to do it from the sides. But doing it from the top has a better success rate because you're just aligning it from the top, so it's easier. Just give it a good press down, and once that's done, you're gonna take something heavy. For me, I always love to use books, like all of you know. Place it on top. Now just wait for the back glass to be adhered to the back of the phone.
A few moments later.
I just want to remove the book or whichever weight that you use to hold the phone. Once that's done, you might just want to take it, check if everything is okay. The last thing you want to do is you just gotta test the wireless charging pad 1. For me, I always use a MagSafe charger to test the wireless charging, so just put it at the back, connect it to power, just test out if the wireless charging is working, and if that's working, your repair is a success. Because the back glass helps with the wireless charging, so you just gotta make sure that that is working. So that's actually been it for the screen replacement on the Samsung Galaxy S8. I would say that this repair, like all screen repairs, is actually much harder. I would give it a 6 or 7 out of 10, and that is definitely due to just it being a screen replacement, because first we got to remove the back glass, second we got to remove the screen, and remove the screen it's not easy. You got to put in lots of heat, and even when you put in lots of heat, it's a lot of prying to do. And like I said, a cracked glass makes it easier for a screen replacement, but let's say your glass is not cracked and the LCD is the only problem, then that is when you have a problem, and it's going to be much harder, and you got to use lots of heat, and sometimes even after lots of heat there's a lot of prying. But like I say, in all my screen replacements, if you're doing this just to find out how you can repair and you have a perfectly working screen, I would definitely recommend you to not do it, because it's just going to be destroying the display and you just wasted a fully working phone part. But if your display is genuinely spoiled, then I would really recommend you to go and do this repair. But just be sure to not get glue or to not get any adhesive onto the camera or onto the microphone, and because that will just spoil. Because the last thing that you want is a spoiled microphone or spoiled front facing camera just because of glue. That is really wasted. It's really you just wasting your money in the trash. So just be careful about that. So that's actually been it for this video. If you like this type of self repair content, if you like this video and if you want to support me, do remember to get subscribed to this channel, turn notifications so you get notified whenever I post a review, teardown or unboxing. With that, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch all of you in the next one. Bye bye.